Argument 8, Part 3. The whole time of this fast may with truth be called a fast, and to the Archimagus, to all the Magi, and pretended prophets, in particular, for, by ancient custom, the former is obliged to eat of the sanctifying small-leaf tobacco, and drink the snake root, in a separate hut for the space of 3 days and nights without any other subsistence, before the solemnity begins, besides his full portion along with the rest of the religious order, and the old war chieftains, till the end of the general fast, which he pretends to observe with the strictest religion. After the first fruits are sanctified, he lives most abstemiously till the end of the annual expiation, only sucking watermelons now and then to quench thirst, and support life, spitting out the more substantial part. By the Levitical law, the priests were obliged to observe a stricter sanctity of life than the laity. All the time they were performing the sacerdotal offices, both women and wine were strictly forbidden to them. Thus the Indian religious are retentive of their sacred mysteries to death, and the Archimagus is visibly thin and meager at the end of the solemnity. That rigid self-denial seems to have been designed to initiate the Levite, and give the rest an example of leading an innocent simple life, that thereby they might be able to subdue their unruly passions, and that by mortifying and purifying himself so excessively, the sacrifice by passing through his pure hands may be accepted, and the Holy Spirit of fire atoned, according to the divine law. The superannuated religious are also emulous in the highest degree, of excelling one another in their long fasting, for they firmly believe that such an annual self-denying method is so highly virtuous when joined to an obedience of the rest of their laws, as to be the infallible means of averting evil and producing good things through the new year. They declare that a steady virtue, through the divine cooperating favor, will infallibly ensure them a lasting round of happiness. At the end of this solemn fast, the women by the voice of a crier, bring to the outside of the holy square a plentiful variety of the old year's food newly dressed, which they lay down, and immediately return home, for every one of them know their several duties, with regard both to time and place. The sentinels report the affair, and soon afterward the waiters by order go, and reaching their hands over the holy ground, they bring in the provisions, and set them down before the famished multitude. Though most of the people may have seen them, they reckon it vicious and mean to show a gladness for the end of their religious duties, and shameful to hasten the holy attendance, as they are all capable of their sacred offices. They are as strict observers of all their set forms, as the Israelites were of those they had from divine appointment. Before noon, the temple is so cleared of everything the women brought to the square, that the festival after that period resembles a magical entertainment that had no reality in it, consisting only in a delusion of the senses. The women then carry the vessels from the temple to the water, and wash them clean for fear of pollution. As soon as the sun is visibly declining from his meridian, this third day of the fast, the Archimagus orders a religious attendant to cry aloud to the crowded town, that the holy fire is to be brought out for the sacred altar, commanding every one of them to stay within their own houses, as becomes the beloved people, without doing the least bad thing, and to be sure to extinguish and throw away every spark of the old fire. Otherwise, the divine fire will bite them severely with bad diseases, sickness, and a great many other evils, which he sententiously enumerates, and finishes his monitory caution by laying life and death before them. Now everything is hushed. Nothing but silence all around. The Archimagus and his beloved waiter, rising up with a reverend carriage, steady countenance, and composed behavior, go into the beloved place, or holiest, to bring them out the beloved fire. The former takes a piece of dry poplar, willow, or white oak, and having cut a hole, so as not to reach through it, he then sharpens another piece, and placing that with the hole between his knees, he drills it briskly for several minutes, till it begins to smoke, or, by rubbing two pieces together, for about a quarter of an hour, by friction he collects the hidden fire, which all of them reckon to immediately issue from the Holy Spirit of fire. The Muskogee call the fire their grandfather, and the supreme father of mankind, Esakata Emish, the breath master, as it is commonly explained. When the fire appears, the beloved waiter cherishes it with fine chips, or shaved splinters of pitch pine, which had been deposited in the holiest. Then he takes the unsullied wing of a swan, fans it gently, and cherishes it to a flame. On this, the Archimagus brings it out in an old earthen vessel, whereon he had placed it, and lays it on the sacred altar, which is under an arbor, thick-weaved atop with green boughs. It is observable that when the Levites laid wood on the sacred fire, it was unlawful for them either to blow it with bellows, or their breath. The Magians, or followers of Zoroaster, poured oil on their supposed holy fire, and left it to the open air to kindle it into flame. Is not this religious ceremony of these desolate Indians a strong imitation, or near resemblance of the Jewish customs? Their hearts are enlivened with joy at the appearance of the reputed holy fire, as the divine fire is supposed to atone for all their past crimes, except murder, and the beloved waiter shows his pleasure by his cheerful industry in feeding it with dry fresh wood, for they put no rotten wood on it, any more than the Levites would on their sacred altars. Although the people without may well know what is transacting within, yet, by order, a crier informs them of the good tidings, and orders an old beloved woman to pull a basket full of the new ripened fruits, and bring them to the beloved square. As she before had been appointed, and religiously prepared for that solemn occasion, she readily obeys, and soon lays it down with a cheerful heart, at the out corner of the beloved square. By ancient custom, she may either return home, or stand there, till the expiation of sin hath been made, which is thus performed. The Archimagus, or firemaker, rises from his white seat and walks northward 3 times round the holy fire, with a slow pace, and in a very sedate and grave manner, stopping now and then, and speaking certain old ceremonial words with a low voice and a rapidity of expression, which none understand but a few of the old beloved men, who equally secrete their religious mysteries, that they may not be profaned. He then takes a little of each sort of the new harvest, which the old woman had brought to the extremity of the supposed holy ground, rubs some bear's oil over it, and offers it up together with some flesh, to the bountiful Holy Spirit of fire, as a first fruit offering, and an annual oblation for sin. He likewise consecrates the button snake root, and the cassina, by pouring a little of those 2 strong decoctions into the pretended holy fire. He then purifies the red and white seats with those bitter liquids, and sits down. Now, every one of the outlaws who had been caught a-tripping may safely creep out of their lurking holes, anoint themselves, and dress in their finest, to pay their grateful thanks at an awful distance, to the forgiving divine fire. A religious waiter is soon ordered to call to the women around, to come for the sacred fire. They gladly obey. When they come to the outside of the quadrangular holy ground, the Archimagus addresses the warriors, and gives them all the particular positive injunctions, and negative precepts they yet retain of the ancient law, relating to their own manly station. Then he changes his note, and uses a much sharper language to the women, as suspecting their former virtue. He first tells them very earnestly that if there are any of them who have not extinguished the old evil fire, or have contracted any impurity, they must forthwith depart, lest the divine fire should spoil both them and the people. He charges them to be sure not to give the children a bad example of eating any unsanctified or impure food, otherwise they will get full of worms, and be devoured by famine and diseases, and bring many other dangerous evils both upon themselves and all the beloved, or holy people. This seems to allude to the theocratic government of the Jews, when such daring criminals were.
If you've been to this channel more than once, please subscribe, as it truly does help the channel. Leave a comment, for the Bang looks forward to reading them and replying to them. Also, don't forget to like and share this content with like-minded individuals such as yourself. There's plenty more where this came from. Until next time, this Bang content will end in 3, 2, 1.